At a supermarket in Tokyo, a box of American cherries can sell for more than $40 a kilogram. 48 hours earlier, that same cherry was still on a tree, in an orchard more than 5,000 miles away. A fruit that bruises easily, spoils fast, and ripens for only a few short weeks, yet still travels halfway around the world in less than 2 days. The question is, how does America move something this fragile across the world in just 48 hours? We go deep into the journey of this fruit, from the orchards of the Pacific Northwest to global markets, to understand why 48 hours is everything. Each year, the U.S. Pacific Northwest exports about 40,000 tons of fresh cherries to the rest of the world. That is the equivalent of roughly 400 fully loaded Boeing 777 cargo planes, moved in just a few short weeks. Washington State alone produces about 90% of all sweet cherries grown in the United States. But the entire production window lasts only about 10 weeks, a narrow window in the middle of summer. A short window, an enormous harvest, and a global network waiting on the other end. That's where the real story begins. Cherries are not a crop that grows easily everywhere in America. It needs a rare combination: cold winters to let the trees rest, dry and sunny summers, and cool nights to preserve fruit quality. And it needs water, not rainwater, but snowmelt from the Cascade Mountains flowing down into the valleys below. That is why Washington State became the cherry capital of the world, especially the Yakima Valley and the Wenatchee region. But not all cherry orchards in Washington ripen at the same time. Orchards in the lower valleys ripen first, while those at higher elevations ripen 3 to 4 weeks later, creating a continuous harvest chain throughout the summer. This staggered ripening is what allows American cherries to flow into global markets for 10 straight weeks, without gaps, without bottlenecks. The story of an American cherry does not begin in the orchard, it begins in the soil. Before placing a single cherry tree, the farmer must dig deep into the soil below, testing drainage, pH, and the health of the land itself. Because cherry trees cannot tolerate waterlogged soil, just a few days of standing water can rot the roots and slowly kill the entire orchard for years to come. That is why the valleys of Washington, where gravelly soil drains quickly and the sky stays dry, became the ideal home for cherries. Once the soil is ready, tractors run along straight lines stretching for miles, breaking up the hard layers below so roots can reach deep into the ground. Once the soil is ready, it's the tree's turn, and the cherry trees you see in any modern orchard do not grow from seed. Every cherry tree is a hand-grafted combination of 2 parts, a strong, disease-resistant root and an upper stem that produces the commercial fruit. The root decides how tall or short the tree will be, what soil it can survive in, how long it will live. The stem decides whether you'll be eating dark red cherries, golden red ones, or fruit that ripens early or late in the season. In Washington, 2 names became iconic: Bing, deep red, firm-fleshed, the king of the everyday market, and Rainier, golden red, delicately sweet, the symbol of premium fruit across Asia. But choosing the variety is only the beginning. The way these trees are planted, the way they stand, has completely changed compared to 20 years ago. Modern cherry orchards are trained into fruiting walls, straight, even, and low enough that workers can pick fruit standing on the ground without ladders. Each tree is shaped into a fixed structure, support wires stretched like rails, and every cherry sits within arm's reach. Once the trees are standing in the soil, the next job in the orchard is bringing water to every root. In Washington, this water comes from melted snow on the Cascade Mountains, flowing down to the valleys through a canal network built over a century ago. But the water isn't poured freely. It travels through thin tubes, dripping precisely at the base of each tree, every drop, every hour. Compared to the old sprinkler method, this system saves more than half the water, and more importantly, it controls the exact moisture inside every cherry. In the Pacific Northwest, every drop of water is a decision, and every decision serves one single goal: putting a flawless cherry on a plane just a few months later. When the water lines shut down for winter, the machines return to the orchard, and the work of shaping the trees for the next season begins. A mechanical hedger runs down each row, cutting branches along a preset plane, turning thousands of trees into a clean, fruiting wall in just a few days. And the finer cuts, deciding which branch stays and which goes, still need a human eye. But now, they work from electric mobile platforms, gliding along the rows without ever using a ladder. When the soil warms in spring, it's nutrition's turn, no longer spread by hand, but injected directly into the irrigation system, reaching each root with doses calculated for every zone of the orchard. And once the sap is flowing fully, a new season officially begins, not with fruit, but with flowers. But cherry blossoms cannot pollinate themselves, and without the right intervention at the right moment, the entire crop can disappear within the first week. That's why every spring, thousands of trucks drive through the night from California and other states, carrying millions of beehives up to Washington. Once they arrive, the hives are placed between the rows, and within hours, millions of bees begin their own pollination race. Once the bees finish their work and tiny green cherries begin to form, a new threat appears in the sky. A single April frost can kill cherry blossoms in just one night. A single June rainstorm can split an entire batch of nearly ripe fruit. To fight frost, massive wind machines stand between the rows, linked to temperature sensors, automatically starting the moment the air drops to a dangerous threshold, all night, without any human presence. And when the frost gets too severe, a second system kicks in. Thousands of overhead sprinklers blanket the entire orchard with continuous mist. The water freezes around each blossom, and that very act of freezing keeps the life inside warm. And when rain hits during harvest season, another solution, far more dramatic, is unleashed. To save the crop, some farmers hire helicopters to fly just above the treetops, using the rotor wind itself to dry every single cherry. And down at ground level, another threat lurks: pests, and a tiny invasive fly that can get an entire shipment rejected at the importing port. To fight back, the American cherry industry has brought robots into the orchard. Driverless autonomous sprayers move down each row guided by sensors and GPS, releasing a fine mist precise to every branch, every tree, every hour of the day. And above the canopy, spray drones fly in formation, covering zones the tractors cannot reach, or when the ground is too wet from rain. Above all the machines working in the orchard, another invisible layer of technology is running. Not cutting, not spraying, just watching. Every morning, multispectral drones fly above the rows, capturing not regular images, but maps of temperature, moisture, and leaf health. What the human eye cannot see, the drone sees clearly. Below the ground, thousands of tiny sensors are buried in the soil, recording moisture, temperature, and water pressure, streaming data continuously to a central dashboard through a wireless network. All of this data is analyzed by AI, predicting ripening dates, flagging diseases, adjusting irrigation and spraying, calculating harvest schedules down to every single tree. When the day arrives, that day is no longer chosen by the farmer. It's decided by the entire system, and the 48-hour race officially begins. because every cherry has to be picked together with its stem. That thin green stem is the sign of freshness and the very condition for flying to Asia. That's why every summer, thousands of migrant workers from California, Texas, and beyond converge on Washington, just to do one job that robots still cannot perform. But even if America can't automate the picking itself, it still finds ways to accelerate everything else with machines. Electric mobile platforms lift workers right to the level of the fruit. No ladders, no climbing, no time wasted. But this isn't the only way America harvests cherries. When the stem doesn't matter, every rule of Washington gets flipped, and America built machines that can only be used freely here. Within 5 seconds, the entire cherry tree shakes violently, and thousands of cherries rain down onto the canvas like hailstones. What 20 pickers can do in a full day, this machine does in minutes. When the truck carrying the cherry bins leaves the orchard, the first stop is usually not the factory. It's a machine set up right at the edge of the field. This is a mobile hydro cooler, a machine that showers cherries with water near freezing, pushing the field heat out of every fruit in just a few minutes. In less than 10 minutes, a cherry just picked in the warm sun is brought down to near freezing, effectively pausing its biological clock. Every second that passes without cooling is a second the cherry loses value. And that's exactly why hydro coolers aren't placed at the factory, but right at the orchard edge. From the hydro cooler, the cherries travel by refrigerated truck to the packing house. And this is where America shows off the peak of cherry technology. The cherry bins aren't simply dumped onto a belt. They're tipped into a water tank, letting cherries float gently down the line without a single impact. Because for cherries, a small impact, called pitting, can be the very beginning of a fruit getting rejected at the export market days later. The cherries flow through a cluster cutter, a series of high-speed rotating blades that separate 2 and 3 cherry clusters into individual fruit, each one still with its green stem intact. Then comes the core, an optical camera system that every single cherry must pass through. 30 photos captured in less than 1/3 of a second. AI analyzes every image, size, color, firmness, micro cracks, bruises, fungal spots, and decides the cherry's fate in milliseconds. The largest, the most colorful, the flawless ones, they're directed to a special lane for the premium Asian market. Others are sent to domestic markets, baking or freezing. After sorting, robots automatically pack cherries into plastic punnet boxes, each box the same size, same color, same grade, precise to every gram. Every punnet receives a traceability label, which orchard, which zone, even which day this cherry left the tree. Boxes are stacked onto pallets, wrapped in insulating film, fitted with a data logger recording temperature every single minute, and pushed straight into cold storage to await the night flight. When the sun sets, refrigerated trucks are already waiting outside the warehouse, and the 48-hour clock has less than 30 hours left. Refrigerated trucks leave the packing house at midnight, racing 140 miles west, straight to an airport that never sleeps. When they arrive at SeaTac, a dedicated cargo zone is already waiting, where crews work shifts that stretch 26 hours long, not because they want to, but because cherries cannot wait. On the tarmac, a Boeing 777 freighter is already waiting, and when the nose cargo door opens nearly 10 feet wide, cherry pallets 6 feet tall and weighing over a ton are lifted and rolled into the belly of the plane. A single 777 can carry over 100 tons of cherries, worth millions of dollars, in one journey lasting 9 to 10 hours. Hours later, the cherries are already sitting on premium shelves in Ginza, Gangnam, or Taipei, where a single Rainier box can cost as much as a dinner in America. And during Lunar New Year, a cherry gift tower can fetch hundreds of dollars. 48 hours, over 5,000 miles. A single cherry has just completed the fastest journey any fresh agricultural product has ever made in the history of global trade. Each season, the American cherry industry faces a shifting reality. Warmer winters that rob trees of dormancy, erratic springs that ground the bees, and record heat waves that ripen entire valleys at once, breaking the very staggered timing the entire industry depends on. And across the Pacific, competitors are rising. Cherries from Chile and New Zealand, grown in the opposite season, arriving in Asia right at Lunar New Year, when American cherries are still buried under snow. To keep its lead, the American cherry industry is investing in tools that were science fiction just 10 years ago. Because the story of American cherries isn't just about growing and selling a fruit, it's about a country that has turned time itself into a kind of asset, measured in hours, in minutes, in seconds.